So I would first just like to thank everybody for joining us today. I want to welcome you to this GEEC Steam the Block Digital Exchange. Very happy to have you here. This is Mental Health Month. So our topic for this workshop is Mind Over Matter. Cool. So Miss Sakeena, there we go.
Hello. First, I want to say I see some of my learners in here, and I'm so excited to see your beautiful faces. Hey. So basically, I have a private practice in Los Angeles called Tranquil Core, and I see individuals, groups. I do individual, group, and family therapy in Los Angeles. And I also have a nonprofit organization called the Hakim Foundation. And that foundation was started by my family to support children and families impacted by incarcerated parents that are either currently in the prison system or they're transitioning out of the prison system. So we try to help families in regards to adjusting to that in their lifestyle. So we do tutoring, mentoring, and we also do support groups for the children and the adults. With my private practice, Tranquil Core, I developed a group concept called Mirrors of Me, which means that it brings the understanding that even though we all have our own narrative, our own stories, that despite our differences within our story, there are some similarities within our stories and how we either dealt with trauma or how we handle, how some of us have similar coping skills, and it allows a platform for individuals to share their experiences and learn that they actually aren't alone with some of the experiences that they've been trying to go through on their own. So as Denise said, we have a mutual friend, and I was invited to go to South Africa for just for leisure. And it always has been important to me. I have a master's in social work from Howard University, and we had an opportunity to go to Cape Town about 10 years ago. And while we were there, we were doing a service project as well. So it has always been a part of me to make sure anytime I go somewhere out of the country that I find a service project to be a part of. So when I was getting ready, invited to go to Johannesburg, I got Denise's contact information and asked about a way that I could be of service during my visit. And that's when she introduced me to Tumi, and the ball just went rolling from there. And I was able to go to a school, and some learners presented to me. They blew my mind, talking about, they presented their science projects, and it was just an amazing experience. But what I did was one of my Mirrors of Me workshops with them, and I focused on a topic that I really like discussing when I work with youth, and it's called, in a clinical term for it is called displacement, and I'll explain what that means in a second. But I'm just going to briefly talk about how we can understand displacement and how we can use empathy in regards to working with others. So one example I like to use for explaining displacement is, let's say you have a dog, and let's call this dog Fifi. Every time you come home, Fifi greets you at the door. Fifi's so happy to see you every time, and you always greet Fifi back because you're having a wonderful day. And I'm going to refer to Jonay's chart where, say one day you come home and someone maybe at work or at school upset you, and now you're a 5 when you get home. Let's think about how you're going to greet Fifi when you come in the door. You might kick Fifi. And what happens is that means that you've taken your feelings and displaced it on your pet versus really having an opportunity to kind of address what really was bothering you in the first place, whether it was that individual. So I don't know if I'll be able to get volunteers on here. I'm not really keen to how to pull that in on Zoom, but I want to ask maybe at least 1 or 2 people, maybe one of the learners, to chime in and give me an example of how you respond if you are, what's your behavior like when you're upset or if you are agitated or hungry, or like, how do you respond to people? Anyone, you can put it in the chat too if you don't want to say it out loud.
Hi, Sakeena.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. Good to see you.
Tabitha here from Johannesburg, South Africa. I'm so excited about this platform. I was saying to Denise and to me that, you know, you guys are doing such a good job, because there's a lot of people like me who have no idea how to deal about anxiety, anger, etc. So how I respond to I clamp up inside, I feel like I'm gonna explode, I start feeling like my chest and back has a locomotive on it, and breathing, it's not my thing. It's something I need to start to learn to do now. Which is quite funny to people when I say I can't breathe, and they like, you're alive, you're walking around amongst us. I'm like, I know. Only when I started experiencing negative emotions in life, because one tends to live in a bubble for some time until you realize you're on earth. So, you know, the feeling that you're gonna explode, you feel inside. But I'm one person, I don't look on anybody, I put a smile on my face, and I run with the locomotive feeling on my chest, and I just walk away. I'll feel like I want to cry at that moment in time, but I postpone it because I can't do it amongst people. And I say, I'll do it later. When later comes, you don't feel crying anymore, but you're still pissed. So yeah, I still have a lot to learn. So you guys continue doing the great work that you are doing.
Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for posting that beautiful picture. And the reason why I say that, like you said, you can't breathe and you feel like you're going to explode inside. And it sounds like you said when someone tries to talk to you, you just have to walk away, right? So what I want to say to that is there's this component called empathy. And that's when we're able to kind of share and understand the feelings of other people. And we often forget about it when it comes to interacting with others. So let me just give an example. If we know what happens when we're upset, if we know that we walk away from people, or if we know that we might yell at someone, or if we might just get very, emotional, or just tell someone, let me see, what's the best way? I'll just stick with if we get anger. So if someone comes at us and we're not having a good day, we're gonna, what we like to say is snap and be, and kind of take the anger out on someone else. And when we receive that from someone else, we immediately say, well, what's wrong with them? Why are they snapping on me? And sometimes we take it personal. And in a sense of that situation, we can actually react to them being upset because we're not empathizing, understand where it's coming from. So one example I would share is that, say for instance, you are, well, this can happen at home too. Let's say a mother and a child. So if a mother's having a bad day, sometimes they might be a little more, they might shut off the child, or tell the child just get out the room, or be quiet, or even raise their voice. However, that child could be having a bad day, and not saying it's okay for the child to disrespect the mother, but the child may be irritated and the child might want to ignore the mom or close themselves off in a corner or in a room because something's upsetting them. Instead of saying, what's wrong with you? It's better to say what happened, because what we're forgetting is that we know what we do when something's bothering us and how we respond to people. But when someone else is responding to us in a certain way, we ignore the fact that they actually might be going through something too. And they don't, that's where I'm saying we're not empathizing, we're trying to understand, well, maybe it might be something, somebody's having a bad day here. Let me not take it personal and, you know, explode. So there's something in the terms, in the clinical, I went to a training and they're using it repetitively in regards to trauma, is to ask people, instead of saying what's wrong with you, is like what happened. So you can get a better understanding of what their feelings are, you know, what feelings they're going through at the time. So when I do the workshops with kids, that's one of the things that I start off with, because we forget that we remember we're human, but we forget that other people are human too. So it ends up being a constant battle and a barrier in communication, and it continues to minimize the understanding of mental health and, you know, what can be going on. Yes.
Thank you so much for that explanation. And I wanted to just throw in, you had mentioned about empathy. And again, going because we're on Zoom a lot, everyone to just be a little mindful that it prohibits us from the ability to mirror, to look at people's faces, so we don't have the empathy. And again, that creates more anxiety and stress. Really being mindful of being on Zoom and how we're reacting at someone else that may be reacting to you that may seem like it's something next, but it has to do with our brain and how it's processing things, how we're not able to have human interaction while on Zoom. So I just want to mention that. Thank you. So we're running low on time. This is a great subject that we always have when we have mental health so much to talk about, but we wanted to get any voices from the students, also referred to as learners in South Africa, and have another one of the performance. So if you could, last word you had to share, thank you so much for stepping up